So hey guys, the time is here. I very much apologize that this video is very, very late. I definitely wanted to do this video a while ago, but there was a few films that didn't quite reach the Madison area where I live in until just recently. So I wanted to be really fair, and I really wanted to wait for those films so I can really give a very honest, very fair opinion on what I thought were the 10 best films of the 2013 year. And I really wanted to make sure I did it right. I wanted to make sure that all the films I had was highly anticipated for, were at least viewed at this point. So I will take note also that I'll just say these two films are now, just because I know there's actually, no, three films. Three films I know a lot of people really praised this year that I actually didn't even get around to. I either was busy when they came out or just never got around to seeing them. Those three films were Gravity, 12 Years a Slave, and Mud with Matthew McConaughey. I also didn't see Dallas Buyers Club. I heard a lot of good things about that one. So those four obviously weren't even considerations, so because I haven't even seen them yet. Um, so those four are not on the list for sure. And one thing I am going to do after this video, that's going to be posted at some point after this video, is I'm going to have something called like my number 11 list or something along that line, where I talk about films that I really enjoyed throughout the year, but they weren't quite good enough to be in my top 10. And I also have a top 5 worst of the year video coming soon. I just did 5 just because, to be honest, I didn't see enough really bad movies this year to do a top 10 worst, so I just decided to make it a top 5 worst. But let's get going. I do have a lot to say about these 10 films that I truly think are the best films of 2013, at least out of all the films that I saw for this year. At number 10, we have Grudge Match. I really love this film, you guys. I know a lot of critics loathe this movie, they despised it. But I really think Sylvester Stallone and Robert De Niro have proven that they really have a lot more left in them, even though they're very old men. But at this point, it was just great to see Rocky Balboa. It was great to see Jake LaMotta back on the big screen, even though they were playing different characters this time around. But the characters they were playing were very much in spirit with, the Rocky Balboa and Jake LaMotta characters, respectively. It's just a really good movie. I think it's a very interesting, observation about boxing in general. And Peter Segal had a fun time making a comedy at the same time. So, it not only was it a fun film to make, but it's a very interesting viewpoint and almost kind of a character study of, boxing characters in the film and kind of how that's grown over time and kind of how, what would it be like if Rocky Balboa and Jake LaMotta were to fight in this boxing ring together? And it very much had like a Rocky Balboa feeling like we had back in 2006. It was just very epic to see these two characters duke it out on the big screen. And it was, even though they weren't playing their, famous characters, it was just great to see them back on the big screen again. At number 9, we have Before Midnight. I love Richard Linklater is a very talented director as well. I was just really great to see Jesse and Celine back on the big screen. They did Before Sunset and Before Sunrise were the two chapters Before Midnight. And this film just really, I really like how Richard Linklater did something a little different with it. He put them in a new location once again. They were married this time around, so it was interesting to see kind of how, the events of the first two films, kind of how, what would it be like if these two really were to get married after all these years of them dating and just seeing each other. And Before Midnight was just a really well written film. You could definitely tell that Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy really had a lot of passion for these two characters, and so did Richard Linklater. And so it's just very amazing to see these characters back on the big screen again. And if this is the final chapter of that series, I think it's a good point to stop because how they wrapped it up in this film was it was very, very impressive, and I'm really glad with what they did with it. So that made it at number 9. At number 8, we have Kick Ass 2. Though Matthew Vaughn didn't come back for the sequel, I did think Jeff Wadlow did a terrific job, kind of continuing that style Matthew Vaughn brought to the first Kick Ass film. And I actually just rewatched it again the other day. It's truly a very good movie. I liked how Hit Girl and Kick Ass. I really liked how they helped each other out just because, there was something that both of them had that the other person didn't. And so I liked how they were able to help each other out throughout the movie. And just really well written, a really fun time. It was great to see Jim Carrey and John Leguizamo get into the mix of this film, and just a really terrific time. It's one of the better superhero films I saw this year, to be honest, too. So At number 7, we have Monsters University. This is another film too where not a lot of people seem to like it that much, but I really thought it was terrific. It was great to see Sully and Mike back on the big screen. You know, as their younger selves. They're in college this time, and I liked how the film kind of had a Animal House, mixed with kind of like a Revenge of the Nerds kind of feeling with it. It was a really fun time. You know, I'm in college myself right now, so I really could relate to some of the things that, specifically Mike Wazowski was going through on campus and things, and kind of how, you know what you want to do, but you don't quite know what skills you're best yet, that kind of thing. And just a very relatable film, specifically for those who have been through college or are currently going through college. And it was great to see Mike and Sully on the big screen again, so that made it in at number 7. At number 6, we have a film that still creeps me out to this day, and that's James Wan's The Conjuring. The Conjuring, you guys, is one of the creepiest films I've ever watched. It's definitely up there with Paranormal Activity and The Exorcism of Emily Rose. All three of those films creep me out. The Conjuring specifically alone creeps me out. James Wan not only managed to really show us how to make a very good haunted house movie, but he really gave justice to the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren. He really gave justice to the Perron family, and he gave justice to so many things in this movie. And I just really respect this movie a lot. And it's very well filmed. It's very well acted. It's very well written, and that's something you really can't say a lot about a lot of horror films these days. The scares are there's no jump scares in this movie. All scares are all natural scares in this. Very terrifying makeup in this, and it's truly a very horrifying experience. And that's probably the greatest thing you could say about a horror film is it truly gets under your skin and it truly creeps you out simply because you know it's a true event and you're going to leave the theater. I guarantee at least one thing that really creeps you out about it. At number 6 for sure is The Conjuring. At number 5, we have Don John, another film I got to revisit recently. Don John is truly a terrific film, you guys. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a very talented director and writer. He's given us so many great films as an actor, and I think his transition to both writing and directing, and I think he might have even produced this as well. But yeah, it's a truly terrific film. It really shows kind of how people can over expect things in relationships, kind of how, oh, well, every man does this in a relationship, and oh, every woman does this in a relationship. And I liked how Joseph Gordon Levitt gave us a very honest film, and he gave us a very fun film at the same time. And it was very stylistically well made, and he really gave us this universe that we could relate to, as well as kind of letting us escape for a little bit for this 90-minute runtime that we were able to enjoy it for. Um, and Scarlett Johansson, who I'm going to bring up later on, really was a great Barbara Sugarman in this. I'm glad that Joseph Gordon-Levitt got her to be in the movie. So Don John makes it at number 5. At number 4, we have Star Trek Into Darkness. J.J. Abrams continues to impress me. I loved Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan in this. I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but I think this film definitely, if you don't like Star Trek, I think this film will make you like Star Trek by the end. By the time you're done watching it, it's just truly epic. It's truly a really fun film to sit through. It has some great writing, some great one-liners, some great humor, some great action scenes. Almost everything about this movie is terrific. Like I said, just the fact that it got me into something. It got me interested in something that I'm not normally interested in is already a very respectable thing. And Benedict Cumberbatch really gave a very great villainous performance as Khan in this, or John Harrison, I should say. So Star Trek Into Darkness makes it at number 4. Number 3, we have a film I just reviewed recently, and this is why I wanted to bring Scarlett Johansson up again, was the Spike Jonze film Her. I really love this film, you guys. I think the concept of this film is great. Um, I think just Scarlett Johansson's voice work in this is just very, very impressive. Some of the best voice work I've seen in a film in a while. I like Spike Jonze's vision of the future in this. Very romantic. It very much makes you think about life in general and about relationships and kind of how, just some very thought provoking things in it that really makes you think about the things that you're looking at rather than just being um, glued in with the eye candy. I think the film really just concept wise, it's just so brilliant. You just gotta love it. So Her makes it at number 3. At number 2, we have Man of Steel by Zack Snyder. I love this movie, you guys. I remember waking up the morning this came out, and I was like, okay, I gotta go see this movie. This looks so terrific, and it really was. The film I really like about Man of Steel, and I think a lot of people don't give it enough credit for this. I really like how the film makes you think about how Superman is to society. What do people think about Superman. He's this all-American hero. He represents the best of humanity, the best in us. Um, I really liked Kevin Costner's performance as Jonathan Kent in this. Very powerful stuff. I really like how the film really brings it down to earth, and it really brings a very human element into it. It definitely was the Dark Knight of Superman movies. Very terrific film, and I got a lot more respect for Zack Snyder after watching it. Some terrific action scenes, some terrific CGI. Zack Snyder really knocked it out of the park with this movie. So Man of Steel makes it at number two. And at number one, this is my all time favorite film of 2013. I love this film. I will still love this film. I will love this film probably for the rest of my life, too. Is number one is Enough Said, starring Julia Louis Dreyfus and James Gandolfini. This film, you guys, it's just the perfect romance comedy. It has great writing, great romance, great chemistry, great acting, great cinematography, great music. Just everything about this movie is perfect. And really, even when I got to the negatives of this movie, really it's just a small nitpick of two characters. And it wasn't even those characters. It was just, I thought those two characters would have fit in a better movie, like not really a better movie, just, a different movie than this one. That was really my only complaint with it was there was two characters in it, very minor characters too, that I really think would have belonged better in a different movie. But for the most part, guys, Enough Said is the perfect romance comedy. It's not just your typical romance comedy. This film really feels like somebody you would meet down the street. It just has a very realistic feeling. It has easily the best performance of Julia Louis Dreyfus in her entire career, and that's really saying a lot. James Gandolfini left this role with a truly terrific film under his belt, and the humor in it is top notch. It's definitely the best laughs I've had all year, and Enough Said was truly terrific, guys. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure you do. It's just such a treat. It's such a great work of filmmaking. It really is a terrific film. So that makes it in at number one. That's my favorite film of 2013. So let me know what you think, guys. Was I right? Was I wrong? Do you agree with some of these? Do you disagree with some of these? Let me know down below. I am going to have a runner-up list soon of films that didn't quite make the list, but they were considerations and they almost made it. And I'm also going to have the top 5 worst of the year coming up soon as well. So be sure to look for that. There's going to be some very negative comments in that video because some of those 5 films on that list I really didn't like in 2013. So that was my top 10 for 2013, you guys, and I will see you here for the next video.